My name is Bushadi Semenya from the Department of Psychology at UNISA. I'm sitting here today with Professor Janelle and Dr. Karin Lebe, who both are psychologists from PsySSA, but they will tell us a little bit more about themselves and how they related to PsySSA. And our discussion today is about sexuality in Africa, and psychology's role in responding to issues relating to sexuality.
Hello, my name is Dr. Karin Lebe. I'm from the University of Pretoria, from the Department of Educational Psychology, and I specialize in LGBT families.
And my name is Jean Miller, also from the Department of Psychology, UNISA, Director of the UNISA Center for Applied Psychology. We also represent PsySSA on INET, and INET is International Network for Lesbian, Gay and Bisexual Concerns and Transgender Issues in Psychology.
Sexuality and more so same-sex relationships in Africa is one of the highly charged and emotive subjects. And one cannot but help to get an idea that homophobia is still deeply entrenched in our psyche. For example, Uganda has a bill which is called the Anti-Homosexuality Bill, which was introduced in 2009, which got people up in arms really about the implications of this bill. And PsySSA has issued a statement in relation to that. And I'll call upon Dr. Karin Lebe to sort of just give us a broader statement around the bill to introduce the background of the bill. What is the bill about?
Well, the bill basically proclaims that among its primary objectives it is to protect the children and the youth of Uganda. But I think according to our opinion and what we know in South Africa, it won't probably achieve that outcome because it's not based on research and what the scientific community knows about homosexuality and sexual orientation. I would like Jean perhaps to give some background on PsySSA and our involvement with INET and how we came to propose a statement against the law, and then maybe come back to maybe say more about that.
Okay, yeah, because I think it might be important just to emphasize that PsySSA is a member of INET, and that is the International Network for Lesbian, Gay and Bisexual Concerns and Transgender Issues in Psychology. It's a structure that's composed of national, multinational and international psychological associations, and they're cooperating to achieve a whole range of things, and I won't go into the detail of all of that now, but among others it is to formally reject the notion that same-sex sexuality is a mental disorder, and it's to promote affirmative mental health practice. So PsySSA became a member of INET in 2009, and Karin and myself represent PsySSA on INET. So that's what brings us to this table. That's why we're talking about the statement that PsySSA released. And I might just say that it was then at the request of INET that PsySSA responded to issuing such a statement, and very much based in the notion that PsySSA is the professional body representing psychologists in South Africa, and that since its inception it strives to make a significant contribution to solving the pressing human development problems in South Africa. But at the same time, PsySSA is committed not only to transformation and development of South Africa, it's also of the continent, the African continent, and psychology on that continent. So with that in mind, and with an understanding that PsySSA subscribes to the South African Constitution that propagates non-discrimination and equality also on the basis of sexual orientation, there's no way PsySSA can ignore this proposed bill, which fortunately hasn't passed as yet, but soon might be if there's not different voices that are opposing it. And our statement was a science-based opposition, if you can call it that. So I'm going to ask Karin just to highlight some of the aspects that from a science-based and evidence-informed position PsySSA responded to.
Okay, all right, I think I'll lead up with what Jean said, that what we aimed to do was to offer counter-arguments or to really examine the core arguments made by the bill and to justify that by the scientific research and knowledge that we have. So there's three aspects that we addressed, and the first one is the nature of sexual orientation, because I think psychologists for themselves need to go back to this core issue, and then if people are part of a minority group, and if you encounter people from a minority group, such as sexual orientation or the whole sexual classifications field, then that's one of the first questions and thoughts that come to mind. Where does this come from? What's the cause? What's the origins? Why do we get people that's gay or lesbian or transgender? And there's no scientific evidence for what exactly causes that, but what we do know, it's not a choice, and it's highly resistant to change. So the evidence against therapies like conversion therapies or any other significant therapies that try to change people's sexual orientation, we know by now that there's really it's not possible or it's not effective. And what we should rather do is then to embrace differences and the subtleties that makes for the variety of human life. So the statement against the bill talk about the nature of sexual orientation. Well, in summary, there's no research and clinical experience that find a relationship between sexual orientation and someone's ability to contribute to the community. Then furthermore, what the bill really advocates for is to protect the youth and to protect the children of Uganda, and that then raises a very emotional aspect of people's lives. If you speak about children and families, then it really becomes quite contentious. And research has found quite clearly that a child that's being raised in a same-gendered family, or someone that is gay or lesbian or bisexual, the LGBT community, that there's really no difference between being heterosexual or homosexual, and especially when it comes to families and children, that they really turn out to be quite well-functioning adults, and that all the speculations about gender stereotypes and sexual behavior, self-concept, there's really no significant influence. There's even research that's stating that it's even sometimes more conducive.
So there's no ground really why discrimination should be an endemic and continuing phenomenon.
Definitely, and that's what we aim to do, is really to base it in the scientific knowledge that we know, and not just come up with